Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I scaled my AI automation agency to $20,000 a month. Let's do it. All right, so the first thing I did when I was scaling my AI automation agency to $20,000 a month is I stopped doing one-off builds. All right, when I started my agency about a year and a half ago now, I was really bad at just like taking any deal that came through the door and building any system that would make me any amount of money. You know, I needed money to live. And so I would basically just like, I'd quote $2,000, $3,000 for these big builds. And I'd spend so much time trying to win these deals and land these clients. And then I'd spend all this time building these systems, and then I'd make $2,500. And then the client would be gone forever. And so, it was just this huge upfront investment to make $2,000 or $3,000, which you can't really scale a company like that. You spend so much time on these really complex systems. You don't make that much money from them. There's no recurring revenue from them. And so you're really stuck in this little cycle of, when I'm building, I can't be selling. And when I'm selling, I can't be building. And you get stuck. So what I really focused on was trying to stop doing all these one-off builds and really free up my time from these builds or create recurring revenue. And so there's a couple different ways that you can do this. And I've tried all of these, and I'll kind of talk you through all of these right now. So the first thing you can do is to kind of stop having your time sucked into these one-time builds is you can templatize your offer, okay? You can almost productize what you're doing. So instead of making, a content system and then an invoicing system and then a lead gen system and then a marketing system, where they all take time to learn and every system is so unique for each client, you can almost create like templates or a productized offer of specific templates that you can almost copy and paste to any new client that comes in your door. So you can almost productize or templatize your offer. So for example, instead of having to build a brand new lead gen system for every single client that comes in the door, you could build one that works really well and then just tweak slight little things about the system to tailor that to each client. So you're spending less time rebuilding the system every time, and you're able to basically just copy and paste and print money that way. So you could templatize your offer. All right, the next thing you can do is, and this is what I did a lot to really open up my momentum and get the wind in my sails here, is I started offering my skills as a managed service. Now, what does that mean? Well, instead of just building templates or systems and selling those for the client to run and manage on their own, I changed my offer a little bit and found a lot of success with it. So instead of building a lead gen system in make.com and then sending that to the client and then being done and making no money, I instead said, hey, let me offer you sales as part of a managed service. So I will generate you leads on your behalf and you don't have to do anything. It's like a white glove service where essentially I have a really cool make.com template that can generate leads, for example. And then I charge the client not just for that, but a monthly recurring managed service or consulting fee where I'm essentially selling my brain. So instead of just selling them a system, I'm saying, hey, I have this really cool system, but I also have all this experience and strategy and intelligence and ways we can improve your lead gen. And I'm going to charge you $3,000 or $4,000 a month for the combination of both my experience and intelligence and expertise, as well as the system that I have that is going to actually generate you leads. And so you sell that as like a white glove, hands-off managed service instead of just like a one-off system. And so, this is kind of what I started doing. And at first I would like build like a really cool content generation system in N8N or make.com. And I'd basically go to somebody and say, hey, I'll give you 20 blog posts a month for $1,500. You don't have to do anything. And so I would help craft those topics, craft the actual content strategy, and then I would use my system to generate the content. And that was all white glove. They didn't have to do anything. So that's what I used to do. But we have actually built now an app called Victoria AI, and it's essentially a RevOps suite where we're trying to provide enterprise level revenue AI systems for small business cost. And so what I would recommend now is using something like this. It doesn't have to be our platform, although, it's a really sick platform. But what you can do is, let's take our AI SDR product, for example. Essentially, you can use our AI SDR to generate leads for you or for your clients completely on autopilot across LinkedIn and email. It's like a multi-channel AI outreach tool that we've built. So what you could do is you could find a tool like this, like Victoria AI. pay that small little monthly subscription fee of $200 a month, but then you go out and you sell your lead generation managed service to clients for $3,000-$4,000 a month. And as part of that package, you say, hey, I'm going to deliver you leads, but I'm also going to craft your strategy. I'm going to craft your messaging, and I'm going to build your actual like ICP lead lists from Apollo or LinkedIn Sales Nav. You don't handle anything. You don't handle anything, Mr. Client. I will handle all of that for you. And so, like I said, you guys can charge $3,000-$4,000 a month, and then you just use our system for $200 a month. You take the profit. So you're getting, recurring revenue, which is obviously great. You're not just getting those one-off builds, and you're also leveraging a tool that somebody else is maintaining and has built for you as part of your offer. As part of your managed service offer. So it's a really cool way that you can kind of start to gain scale. Other options that you could do to kind of get away from this one-off build thing and free up some time to focus on things that matter is you can build an offshore team, a cheap team of Upworkers, maybe in Eastern Europe or South America, who can build these systems for cheap, and you're kind of serving as that middleman between the client and the developers. So you could do it that way. Downside of that is obviously you got to pay them, so your margins go down a little bit. And I've done this as well, is you can find a co-founder. Somebody who likes to do the technical aspect of things, someone who likes to build these systems, which frees you up to go sell more. So a couple different ways here that you can kind of get out of this one-off build loop, death spiral, and start to, achieve that scale by freeing up your time on doing these builds. So anyways, that's the first thing I did when I was like, hey, I need to start scaling my business. This isn't working for me. This is exactly what I did, and this is the biggest unlock for me, the biggest secret that I could recommend to you guys. All right, now the second thing that I did to scale my AI automation agency to $20,000 a month is I started spending my time doing revenue generating activities. So this kind of goes hand in hand with number one, which is that you need to free up your time away from building so much into more of either a templatized or a managed service process where you're not building, you are almost templatizing or offering your knowledge as the service so that you can then start to get recurring revenue and copy and paste as much as you can. Once you do that, once you free up that time, well, then what you should be spending your time on instead of building is sales, is outreach, is content, is growing your lead funnel, because that's all that really matters in business. You have to have leads in order to scale. And so what that meant for me, being a YouTuber, is I just needed to make more videos. So, the amount of videos I make on YouTube directly corresponds to how many booked meetings I get of people who are interested in needing my services. So for me, that meant making videos. For you, I'm not saying you have to be a YouTuber to have a successful AI automation agency, but you should be focusing on outreach, whether that's LinkedIn content, whether that's knocking on doors, whether that's cold calling, whether that's leveraging your network, whether that's commenting in school communities or creating free value for people in, forums or message boards. All that stuff is what you should be spending all your time on. You should be optimizing for booked meetings and sales opportunities. All right. That's all you should be doing. 80 to 90% of your time should be spent generating leads and working on outreach. Stop obsessing over things like making your website perfect or building out the perfect CRM or, creating a really cool logo. That kind of stuff, it doesn't really matter in the long run. You can figure all that out later. What you need to be focusing on, and what I focus on when I started scaling to that magic number, is driving leads, booking sales calls. That's all that matters. So here's some tips for you. If you feel like if you're spending too much time building a website or building out a perfect CRM or setting up like the business infrastructure and you're wasting too much time on it, here's what I would say. So if you want a website, I wouldn't spend a week in like Webflow or Squarespace or WordPress, like building the perfect website. What I would do is I would go into Lovable and, spend maybe like 30 minutes to an hour prompting together a cool website that you feel proud of. Lovable is insane for building these landing pages in a very, very quick amount of time. So I would do that and then move on. Next thing I would say is stop paying for all these like subscriptions, all these apps, like, the ClickUps of the world and like the Pipe Drives and all these like kind of like cool tools. You don't really need most of them. You can really use free apps to set up like a basic infrastructure for your company. And then that's good enough to at least get going. Like, again, you should be spending all your time on sales and outreach. You shouldn't be paying, $30 a month for ClickUp and building out all these fancy CRM automations. Use Google Sheets, use Airtable. These are free tools that do the job. You don't need anything fancy. And then lastly, I'd say, if you're spending an inordinate amount of time doing a very tedious process like making invoices and sending invoices or generating proposals, which I know can take a long time, you can build automated systems that can automate away a lot of that stress. So for example, this really cool proposal generator system, which I'm gonna have a video out in a couple days. I used to spend 2 hours writing a proposal for a client, and I'd send it to him and I would never hear anything back. And so at the end of the day, I was like, okay, can I automate this and get this down to like a 5-minute process? And I have. And so that time, that savings of time, I can then invest into more outreach, more outbound, closing more deals, landing more calls. And so that's what I would recommend to you folks out there trying to scale your AI automation agencies. Okay, the third thing I did on my path to 20K a month is I found my niche, okay? This is very important. And I feel like, growing up, you always hear this from like the business gurus: niche down to scale up, niche down to blow up. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. I spent the first probably year of my AI automation agency just kind of hitting every different type of automation system I could build. A content gen system, a lead gen system, a marketing system, a newsletter system, a CRM system, a dashboard. I would do all of it. I needed money, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is a benefit of going out there and learning how to build all these different systems, getting that experience. Like, there is a benefit of that. But at some point, when you're ready to take the next step, you want to take all the data you've collected in your experience building all those systems, figure out which systems A are the easiest to templatize, B pay the most, and C are easiest to sell. And once you kind of like figure that out after a couple months, you should niche down really hard into that area. So for me, this is lead generation. So I'd say 6 to 12 months in to me leaving my job and for the first time like trying to do this thing on the internet and starting a business, I'd kind of hit a wall. I wasn't making recurring revenue. I was living basically project to project, $3,000 a month, which kind of sucked. It was tough. It was tough coming from like a corporate job, making decent money to $3,000 a month was difficult. And so I decided, something needs to change. Something needs to change. And the first thing I did was I niched down. I said, these sales systems, these lead generation systems, these outbound voice agent systems, these are easiest to sell for me. I can charge the most because it directly translates to top line revenue for clients. And they're not that hard to build once you build a couple of them. And so I said, I'm just going to offer lead gen. And basically immediately things took off. Like the second I rebranded my website to be more lead gen specific, and I started making more videos on lead gen, putting up more content on lead gen and booking meetings, the business changed. It completely transformed. And so, I'm not saying you have to do lead gen, but you should find the area or even the industry that you want to target. For me, I can sell lead gen into any industry. But it might even make sense for me to really niche down and just sell lead gen to dentists or lead gen to creative agencies, which I'm not doing right now. So it's maybe something that, as I'm talking to you guys here, maybe I should look into. But almost always niche down to blow up. And I've learned that firsthand. And that's what I think you guys should do too as you're trying to scale your automation agencies. Now, the fourth thing that I did in kind of scaling my agency, and this took a little bit of time to kind of get a feel, and this is more of a feel thing, is I started following the momentum of the AI industry. So what this means is essentially when you're in the industry long enough, and this, like I said, it takes time, but when you're in the industry long enough and you're on school forums and you're in different communities and you're watching different YouTube videos to learn things, and you're on YouTube and on LinkedIn and you're seeing what people are posting about, you start to get a good sense of what people are talking about and what the hot item is that's being sold. And this for me about 6 months ago was these voice agents. You start to see everybody talking about voice agents. And sometimes this comes about through a technological innovation, like a cool company comes out and they allow us to build these voice agents. And then you kind of get this really cool flow into these new products, and people start to build things that are really cool that you never thought were possible. And so when these voice agents came out, everybody started talking about them. Every post on school was like, hey, I'm building a voice agent for a dentist. Hey, I'm building a voice agent for a construction company. Then you go on YouTube and there's tutorials popping up. And then you go on LinkedIn and everybody's posting about it. And, that's a sign that something is going on and maybe you should look into it. One of my friends always tells me, like, if you hear something once, whatever. If you hear something twice, it could be a coincidence. When you hear about something a third time, something's up, something's afoot, and you need to actually like go dig in and see what's going on. And so I would just suggest to you guys that, as you're trying to scale, keep your ear down to the grindstone, as they say, and be listening to the wind, be listening to what people are posting about, seeing where the winds are blowing, because that'll point you a lot of the times to where the money is to be made and where you can focus your efforts and maybe, hone your skills so you can start to offer something in that new space. Now, the fifth thing that I did as I scaled my company to 20K a month is I just got better at sales. I have a finance background. I'm not a salesman. I sit here in front of my camera and talk to you guys on YouTube. That's about all my experience in sales ever. I'm very analytical. I used to work in Excel every single day for like 8 hours doing finance. And so this didn't really come natural to me. And what I learned in the first year of my automation agency is like sales is almost everything. You got to get good at sales. That's just, in my opinion, it's just mandatory. Now, you don't have to start off being good at sales, but you're going to get there eventually through trial and error. And so, you just need reps. You need a sense of like the pace of a sales call. You need to figure out like when to nudge somebody gently to an idea. You need to know when to like make your pitch. You need to know how to like handle objections. And a lot of this just comes with rep, practice, and that kind of thing. But, there's a couple tips that I'll share with you here that I think will help you guys on your sales calls. So the first thing is that like as you go, you'll have more case studies, more social proof, more testimonials. Those carry a lot of weight on sales calls. So the more case studies you have, the better, because you're just going to increase your trust with the prospective client. The next thing I'll say is that as you build systems, as you get experience building different types of systems, you're going to get really good at diagnosing and providing a solution to a problem live on a call that you otherwise couldn't do when you first started because you just didn't know. So for example, if you're on a call and somebody starts talking about, I need more clients and I need it to be personalized and I want to do it all automated. After a while you'll go, well, you know what? I know a couple different options here. A, I could build you something in make.com and manage it for you and give you like a managed service to generate you more leads. B, I could use something like Victoria AI to generate you more leads, etc. Or C, we can find another tool or platform that can do this for you. And so you start to build like a bank of knowledge that you can suggest, you can propose to them. And again, that just comes with time. But you'll get more comfortable on these sales calls as you go. Now, another thing I learned is you're going to get good, and you need to get good at diagnosing like what someone's budget is on a call without asking them. Most clients, if you ask them like, well, what are you willing to spend on this? They won't answer. They'll defer and like put the ball in your court. I've had no success with that. But you're going to get better at getting a feel for what somebody's budget is based off, hey, what does their camera setup look like? What does their background look like? Is it professional, or are they like sitting on their couch and they have a blurry camera because they're probably not going to pay as much? Do they have a business email? Most of the time, that's a good sign that they're like a professional. They have money. They have budget to spend. Do they mention anything on the call about like other projects they've worked on or kind of the industry they're in? All of these things are like little clues. And you can also do research prior to the call. Look at their website. Does it look professional? Does it look like they spent a lot of money on it? If they did, they're probably in good shape and they've got money to spend. And so, another way to increase your revenue, or scale is to quote higher prices. And so you'll get better at diagnosing that as well. And then the last thing I'll say here is you're going to get better at selling your existing clients. Okay. So far we've just been talking about new prospective clients, but you're also going to start to build up kind of like a a network of existing clients, of people who you've worked with in the past and who like you already, who you have already built trust with. A lot of people will forget about their existing clients. They'll ship a system to them and then they'll forget about them, like the job's done. You should be checking in with those folks every couple of weeks, every month or so, just to see how's business going. Hey, I just saw this new system. It's a really cool content system. Think it could be good for you in your clinic or whatever. Do you mind if I send you a demo? A lot of them, since they trust you already, they've already paid you a lot of money. They'll be like, okay, wait, this system they built me is great. It's working amazing. It's providing me so much value. I'm going to at least hear him out here and see what he has to say about this new system. And so you should be leveraging that to make more money and to continue scaling. All right, guys, just wanted to take a quick little break from the video to do a cheeky little plug here for the new AI RevOps suite we've built called Victoria AI. This is going to be a really cool platform that I think is going to give you guys a lot of value. We've built a really cool product called the AI SDR that is essentially an automated lead generator for you or for your clients. Essentially what it does is allow personalized multi-channel outreach across LinkedIn and email completely on autopilot, booking meetings to your calendar without you having to do a single thing. It's cost $200 a month only, and it is unbelievable. You can see these results. I've been running this campaign for about 8 days. We've already booked 6 meetings to my calendar, completely on autopilot. I haven't done a single thing. So if you're interested in generating more leads for your company, or if you have clients and you want to offer like a lead generation managed service, kind of like what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, please feel free to go sign up. I'll have the link down below in the description. Go sign up for Victoria AI. Like I said, it's $200 a month, and you can start generating leads for you or your clients, and we'd love to have you. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Let's get back to the video. All right, 6th, I became a middleman where possible. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. I like free money. I like making money lazily, not having to do much. And so I got to this point where I was closing deals for people that A, I either didn't know how to build, or B, I just didn't have the time to build. And so what I was sitting there with this issue, like, hey, I have all this work to do. I have all these people that want to pay me money, but I don't think I can deliver this. And so what I did was I started looking for partners. I started looking for people that I could farm this work out to and just take a little finder's fee or a little cut as I sent them the work, and they could keep the majority of the money. So for example, I would get a bunch of clients that wanted to build like really extensive web apps. I had made a couple videos on like coding like a very extensive web app. I'm not a developer. And so most of these people, they'd have a lot of money to spend, like a lot, like tens of thousands of dollars. And I just didn't know how to build it. They thought I did. And so I had these people that, they needed work done. I couldn't fulfill it. And so I went and found different partners and that could fulfill these jobs for me. And in return for giving them more work and more money, they would just give me a cut. So they give me 15, 20% or whatever. And so I would basically be the front man. I'd take the call, I'd close the deal. And then once I got the deal, I trusted these guys to be able to deliver. And I would just send the work to them, take my little cut, and then I'd move on to the next sales call. So again, this is all kind of like fitting with the idea of you need to get out of building, spending all your time building, and really invest a lot of your time into sales and outreach. And so this was just another way that I was able to, offload some of that work while still making money, because this, these finder's fees, these kind of middleman fees that you can, as you pass work along, they add up. And so if you can make 2, 3, 4K a month in finder's fees, now you only need another 16K to get to 20 a month. And so I would recommend that highly if you could get to that point. Now, the last thing I did, and the last thing I really focused on as I scaled my company to $20,000 a month, is I really leaned into content. And I'm not saying you need to be a YouTuber to scale your automation agency. It's just the opposite. That is just the channel that I've come to enjoy and that I like sharing things with people on, is YouTube. But you can do this across any different platform you want. You could do it in a school community. You could do it on LinkedIn. You could do it on Twitter. You could do it on Facebook. You could do it on Instagram. You could do it on TikTok. You should be sharing content in some capacity on a consistent basis. We've turned into like a content society. Everybody just wants to see things and click on things and consume things. You can provide that for them. It doesn't have to be your face. You don't have to get on a camera. You can take screenshots of different builds that you've done. You can take screenshots of different outputs. Hey, I generated 6 leads for my client this week. Would love to, show you how I'm doing it. You can do little Loom videos of a system you've built, 30 seconds long, post it on LinkedIn. You can write articles. Hey, this is what I'm building. Here's how I did it, and here are the results. And if you do this on a consistent basis on any channel, you're going to start to get traction, and that traction turns into leads, and those leads turn into deals. So if you don't know really how to generate more leads, first thing I would do is go straight to content. That's the first thing I would do. I would provide free value to people. So this is what I did, about 6 months ago when things weren't looking great. I was like, you know what? Like, I need to niche down. I need to remove myself from builds, and I need to blast content and get this thing moving again. And that's what I did. If you go look at my YouTube channel, I just started blasting out lead gen content and outbound content, and it went really, really well. And immediately I'm booking calls, and immediately people trust me. And so you're on these sales calls and they go, hey, how does this work? Or what would you build for me? You can send them a link. Hey, here's exactly what I would do. Here's a little video I recorded, or here's a little LinkedIn post that I posted 2 weeks ago showing you exactly how I do it. So not only does it build trust, but it also gives you, a little more arsenal, a little more ammo on your sales calls. So lean into content as much as you can, and you have to be consistent. So guys, that is how I scaled my AI automation agency to $20,000 a month. I don't say any of this to brag. I don't say any of this to, be holier than thou or anything like that. I'm saying this to you because I think all of you guys can get to this point, and I've learned so much along the way in achieving this goal that, I don't think necessarily you guys need to trudge through exactly what I did. And so I want you to take some of this and use it for your benefit. You're going to run into your own roadblocks. There's nothing I can do about that, but I think these are like the 7 most important things that I would recommend to you as you are on your path to scaling your agency that I wish I had heard when I started mine. So this is how I did it. Like I said, it's going to be different for each and every one of you, but the journey is so fun, and it's a really good time, and it's just, I think it's much more rewarding than working like a 9-to-5 job. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys got a lot out of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go down and smash that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing. That would be awesome. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go let me know down in the comments below. I will have our AI RevOps Suite Victoria AI linked in the description below as well. If you need help generating leads, you can always sign up for that as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.